Hey, what's going on? Back with another Spurs Talk video. This video is going to be about my problem with Tim Duncan not being mentioned as a top 5 player of all time. You have networks like ESPN with Magic at 5, Bill at 4, Kareem at 3, Brian at 2, Jordan at 1. And Bleacher Report, for an example, has Bird at 5, Kareem at 4, Magic at 3, Bill at 2, Jordan at 1. Now, what do they all have in common? Well, they large market teams. Large market, except for LeBron, who played for 2 medium market teams. But still, my issue is, I get that, and we all know this when you turn on the TV, obviously ESPN, even Fox Sports News, anything like that, they're going to obviously talk more about the large markets. And I understand that. It's a business. But it's not honest when you're talking about the game of basketball. Now, I don't have a problem with those lists. I don't, because they are all great players and they deserve to be in the positions that they give. But when they when they have these discussions, when they're like, okay, who can possibly move into that top 5 spot, they never mention Tim Duncan. They will mention a Kobe who played for a large market team, or they will mention someone else who played for these large market teams, like Shaq or whatever. And that's dishonest. It's real dishonest to never mention Tim Duncan. Not to say he should be put in there, but to not mention him at all. I find that puzzling, because it's only a few players, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Tim Duncan, who was clear-cut the best player in a position. So how do you have a player that's clear-cut the best at his position of all time? It's not even debated. So why I think he's not mentioned in the discussion of top 5 is because he played for a small market team. So these companies are not going to mention Tim Duncan because it's not going to bring any attention to the station. It's not. They not going. His name ain't going to bring eyes to the station. Obviously, he got tagged as boring. I love basketball. I thought he played the game phenomenal, beautiful. But, he wasn't flashy, so obviously he had got that tag on him. But that's not honest to the game of basketball. So let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be real honest. This guy is one of 2 players with 26,000 points, 15,000 rebounds, and 3,000 blocks. The other player is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's one of only 3 players to win the Wooden Award, Rookie of the Year, NBA MVP, Finals MVP, All-Star MVP. The other 2, Bird and MJ. He's second in all-time wins with 1,158. Number 1 is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's third in most regular season wins with 1,001, but played 168 games less than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's at number 1 on that list with 1,074. His record is 1,001 wins and only 391 losses. He's a 15-time All-Star, 5-time champion, 3-time Finals MVP, 2-time League MVP back-to-back. He won those 2 MVPs back-to-back, and 15-time All-Defensive. If he played for the New York Knicks, they will be mentioning him in that discussion of top 5 all time. If he played for the Knicks and put up this type of career, he'll be mentioned in the top 5 all time. He'll be mentioned like in the discussion. Not saying he will be automatically, but he'll be in the discussion. The guy never missed the playoffs. Never lost less than 50 games in a season. The only time he lost less than 50 games was the lockout years with the shortened seasons. This guy is a winner. He did that with a small market team. He should be mentioned more when people talk about top five. Not saying that put him in the top five, but necessarily mention his name. Well, Tim Duncan deserves, he can challenge for that fifth spot. And if you look at the stats, not stats, but you look at the career, he can challenge a Magic or Bird for that fifth spot. Not to say that he would, take their spot, but he deserves enough respect to be mentioned. That's all I have to say. I believe necessarily if he played for the New York Knicks and had this career, he gave the New York Knicks 5 championships, never lost less than 50 games, except for the lockout years, and put up the statistics that he put up, the dominance that he put up, winning, championships in 3 different decades. You think he wouldn't be mentioned? I think it's dishonest to the sport of basketball that these networks don't mention Tim Duncan enough. I remember throughout all the years watching Spurs basketball, it never got mentioned on they rarely get mentioned on ESPN. Even Tim Duncan in his prime barely got mentioned on ESPN. Barely got coverage, barely got national televised games. San Antonio barely got national televised games, and they was one of the best teams in the NBA. I understand it's a business, but at some point we got to be honest with the game of basketball. We got to be honest to the game. That's all I have to say.